and welcome to the Belmont Journal, Belmont's very own source for hyperlocal news and community updates. I'm Mike Crowley, your host this week. The Beech Street Center celebrated its 10th anniversary on Sunday, October 6th. Roger Colton was there and spoke with the center's director, Nava Niv Vogel.
What a joyous occasion to be here to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Beech Street Center, Belmont's senior center. I was a member of the Board of Selectmen. Can you believe it was 21 years since I left that seat? Really wasn't on our radar back then because the Council on Aging was still very vibrant. And they prided themselves because they had a variety of programs, but they touted many of them as a senior center without walls, because they had no permanent place. They met in places like the schools or the town hall, various public buildings, various private buildings. They had their programs, but no site. And then a small yet growing and vocal and vigilant and committed group of elders lit a fire under the board in the town to start the efforts to bring a senior center to reality. And here we are today. You know, it's hard now to imagine life in the town without the Beech Street Center, because it has a vibe, it has a je ne sais quoi, it's got a positivity and electricity of when you walk in here.
10 years ago, we had the dedication ceremony for a very, very beautiful building that has housed the programs and activities and services of the Council on Aging. We're celebrating that, and we're celebrating the start of another, hopefully, great 10 years. The Beech Street Center is going to grow in importance for the boomer generation, and what we can offer here is a way for boomers to remain at home, because what we're learning is boomers want to do aging differently than move to retirement or assisted living communities. So what we offer is a range of programs to keep healthy lifestyles. We are looking towards the next 10 years as being a period of growth, expansion, and better able to fulfill the needs of older adults and the community.
Welcome to This Week in the Citizen Herald, and welcome back, Joanna Juvelis, Senior Multimedia Journalist with the Citizen Herald. How are you, Joanna?
I'm great, Mike.
So the new Minuteman School is opened.
Yes, they celebrated its official opening with a ribbon cutting just earlier this month.
This was a year ahead of schedule?
I believe so, and it's very exciting. The new school has already had an increased overall enrollment of 17%, and 56% more freshmen have enrolled. In fact, there's a wait list for freshmen.
And that's kind of amazing, because, you know, when the town voted to exit from Minuteman, or at least start the process in 2016, you know, a lot of folks said that, you know, you build this new school and it's never going to fill up, and
right.
And maybe it is.
Which is why at the upcoming special town meeting in November, there's actually going to be an article on the warrant to decide whether or not Belmont should rescind its decision to withdraw as a member district.
Because if we transition to membership, then we become a non-member, and of course, you know, the hope has always been, and this was the hope that was expressed back in 2016 when we voted to withdraw, that we would continue to have access to Minuteman as non-members. But if that school...
There's no guarantee.
If that school fills up, that guarantee
Exactly.
is gone.
If you're a non-member, there's no guarantee. But there are some cons with being a member, and that is the financial obligation. That was one of the reasons we decided to withdraw 3 years ago, was because of the debt service. Belmont, you know, didn't feel we had enough students going. Currently, we have 19 students going. Mm-hmm. Didn't feel we had enough students going to be obligated to pay back that debt service. So we've been, you know, that obligation's been taken away. But as of July 1st, 2020, we are no longer members unless we rescind our decision to withdraw. And then the Minuteman School Committee has to approve that. But then once we're back in as members, we are obligated to pay that debt service. In fact, for the past 3 years, which is $472,000, and then going forward, $40,000 to $50,000 a year for about 30 years.
So the way I've heard it put is that the Minuteman School Committee would want to have that $472,000 in sort of missed debt service payments.
Yeah.
As
Possibly all at once, possibly.
Possibly,
or,
although that
or otherwise installments. We're going to find that out, and that will be one of the things town meeting will be debating about. So stay tuned for more on
that happens November 13th.
Yes, yes.
All right. So, littering is a continuing problem in the town parks.
It is.
What's going
It is.
on?
I've reported on this before when we had the rat problem, right? So we had the rat problem. Joey's Park was closed because of a rat infestation. Barrels were overflowing, so the barrels were taken away. There was a carry-in, carry-out policy, and they've started treating for the rats. Then parents and a lot of residents were upset. They were like, we want the barrels back. We need to have our barrels back.
So we have barrels back,
They
but
brought
now?
the barrels back, and they said for a trial period, we'll have extra hours for Public Works on the weekends to empty the barrels. But that was costing a lot of money. In a 3-month period, I think it cost about $9,000 to do that. So now they're not doing that anymore. But as a result, people are having parties, and there's pizza boxes left behind. Now, did you know that when you have a party at a park, you need a permit? And in the permit, it says it's a carry-in, carry-out policy. So I'm wondering if people are even getting their permits for these parties.
Or if they are, perhaps they're not, abiding by the terms.
So basically, the message is, clean up your mess. If you're having a party, or you're, there's a lot of trash, or you see an overflowing barrel, don't add to that barrel, and certainly don't put your dog waste in that public barrel.
Take your trash with you.
Otherwise, we may have a rat infestation again. That's not exactly what Jay said, but it's also just not pretty. It makes our parks ugly.
Well, thank you so much, Joanna, and we'll be talking to you again. Welcome to This Week in the Belmontonian, our weekly segment with Franklin Tucker, editor of the Belmontonian. So welcome back, Franklin.
Thank you for having me.
So what's going on with the town budget and the possibility of an override?
Well, we can, the town of Belmont can expect an override. It's just now when it's going to be done.
So there had been talk about an override.
For about a year now.
Right, but taking place at the spring town meeting.
When you would expect that to happen, because you want to have an override so you can then expect what your next budget is going to be. It's better to get that override over while you're discussing what the budget is, the future budgets.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was not the town meeting, but the April town election.
That's right.
But now there's talk about potentially pushing this off until the November election.
That's right, and I think it's in many ways a political move. There is about $5 million, $5 to $6 million that it will be needed to extend ourselves over the fiscal year. We have to have a budget by the end of June, when our fiscal year ends and then starts again. So basically, the argument is that it's just too close. Even though it's October, getting everything ready by April and knowing exactly what you're going to be asking for and where it's going to go, it's just going to be just too difficult. It's just not enough time. In many ways, it's akin to the skating rink. We thought that you could put the skating rink on the fast track until you realize it just can't be done. So what is happening is that there's going to be almost like a patched up amount of money that's going to be placed in this year's budget. So in the coming year's budget, I should say, that is going to let us go over for another year. So basically,
there's a scramble taking place to find savings. To tide us over for one more year.
That's right, and one of those savings is a bit controversial, because we're seeing residents now starting to question it, and that is basically the town has declared itself under state law. They can declare themselves a certain. They can basically tell their municipal workers, we're going to change your health benefits, and we're going to change them. And they really have no say about it. There's no negotiations.
The employees.
By the
have
employees. And that will mean higher out-of-cost payments.
Higher deductibles.
Right, exactly. And that's going to save about $1 million, and the ultimate savings will be about $750,000 because a quarter of that money has to go back to the unions. They can decide what they're going to do with it.
I think it's a remediation fund.
Exactly.
of some kind.
And then I think the most controversial, in my view, part of this whole process will be asking for about $3 million in free cash. And how will that affect our bond rating? I know that there are certain people within town government who would not like to see that much money go off to this patched up budget. It could be possible. I mean, we could still have enough money that we won't affect our AAA bond rating, which is very important because we still have bonds to take for the high school and other projects. So, and of course, why it's political is because the November election is going to be historic in terms of.
It'll be a big turnout election.
Because Donald Trump is on the ballot, and he's a very controversial person. So I think they're seeing it as a win-win, basically not allowing, having an override that it won't, we won't have it in the spring, and they can then also defend it and promote it.
All right. Well, so certainly, with a higher turnout, there's a greater chance that the override that's needed to get us into, the next year's budget absolutely might pass.
Yeah, it's akin to what the CPA was back almost 10 years now. 10 years ago, that was a November vote, and I think the people who who promoted that the Community Preservation Act said the only way we could have passed it was in a November election. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Franklin, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Okay. October 4th was Kids Music Day, an event organized by the national nonprofit Keep Music Alive. Powers Music School, located here in Belmont, also participated in Kids Music Day, which was a great opportunity to promote music and the benefits that kids get from it. Jane Peters has more.
Join in with me then. So Kids Music Day is a worldwide event, and they believe in the benefits of music for young people and really all people. But they sponsor these events with schools and other music organizations all over the world. And so Powers signed up to be a sponsor site for one of these events, and we're really happy to do a class in African drumming today. Foundation of Calypso goes like this. Drums are my instrument, and so it's what I love to do. It's what I've done since I was a teenager. Started playing in a rock band in high school, and then studied jazz and classical music in college, and learned to play African drums along the way too. So, first and foremost, music is just something that improves the mind, heart, and body. And it's not just about enrichment, it's about, learning life skills as well, and so as kids learn to make a sound, learn to practice, they learn all these things that benefit them through their lives as well. Yes, I know, it gets distracting, doesn't it? The way I've heard it described best is it teaches children to conjure a sound or conjure beauty out of thin air. And that, if you think about it, there's no other time in life really where kids get to do something like to hear something, to imagine a sound in their head and then try and reproduce that sound, whether it's on a drum or a violin or a piano. And people may question what the value in that is, but if it is one of the most basic elements of creativity, to imagine something and then to make that happen. And to do that through the voice of an instrument is a special skill. Powers is a community music school. We believe in music and bringing music to the community, and we don't want cost or other barriers to get in the way of that. And so doing things like Kids Music Day or our workshop weeks that are coming up at the beginning of November is a way to just kind of throw our doors open and say that music is really for everyone.
Agusta Agustsson, a local fabric artist who got her start making quilts as a painting major at the Massachusetts College of Art, exhibits her work at the Belmont Public Library through October 23rd. She also held a reusable cutlery wrap workshop at the library on October 5th. Our very own Frederique Rigoleau was there to talk with her.
Take some junk. I would recommend, before using one of these, playing with the paper, because you can figure out what kind of techniques you like and what looks good. My name's Agusta Agustsson, and I'm a fiber artist. I started the Plastic Sea series. Well, I've been seeing all these images of plastic in the ocean and plastic everywhere, and I will try printing the bottles, and it didn't work. But I had a plastic bag next to my table, so I printed that, and it printed beautifully. I started printing bottles, bags, and straws, because those are the big three that people use once. And so most of my quilts have all three of those elements in them. It is art activism. I had already, before the Plastic Sea series, I had a Blue Planet series, and that started when I was in Iceland and I was listening to how there were forest fires in Norway, which is really wet, and there shouldn't be forest fires there. In Denmark, all the crops were burning up that year. And then when I came back to the US, California was on fire. So I started this series about different disasters that were happening on the planet. I recycle as much as I can. The first thing is to try to reduce, because most plastic is not recycled. So the thing is to try and use as little plastic as you can, but like just go to the grocery store and you want to be in despair with all the plastic there. I wanted to do a workshop to sort of thank the library for hosting my show. And I thought, well, if we make this reusable cutlery kit, at least that's saving some plastic spoons, plastic knives, and whatnot won't be used. And people will be more aware by carrying this around in their bag. They'll be more conscious of not trying to use plastic.
Belmont High School's varsity volleyball team is hoping to compete in the state tournament again this season. Here's a look at how the team has been preparing during this very competitive season. Joanna Juvelis has the story.
In the past couple years, we've grown to be one of the stronger teams in our league. There were a lot of years where we were kind of at the bottom, then there were a bunch of years where we were kind of at 500, and the past few years we've really risen to be one of the top teams in our league. So our hopes for the season are to do even better than last season, which already was our best season. So I think that the girls have really high goals for themselves, but I think that they can accomplish that because everybody worked very hard in the off season and they're a very motivated group. So we'll see what happens. I think the challenge this season is just maintaining the same level of play every game, no matter who we play against. Because a lot of times, if we're playing those really tough teams, we're very focused because we're really competitive and we want to beat those tough teams. But when we play teams that are a little weaker, it's easy for the energy to get kind of lost and to lose focus. So I think maintaining the same level of play every game will be the challenge, because in those situations where we can be pushing ourselves, but don't necessarily have to win, I think it's easy to let the level of play drop down. But I love that it's just so fast. Like every probably 15 or 30 seconds, someone scores a point. I think it's exciting how just quick the play is and how much power there is involved, and especially with hitting and defensively, that people are just sprinting and diving all over the place. I think it's really fun and exciting to watch, and I think that it gets a rep as not being exciting just because there's not physical contact involved. But I think people just need to watch it and they would be very surprised at the speed and the power involved in playing.
I think volleyball is just such a great team sport, and it really helps you build great communication skills, teamwork skills, and It's very competitive and you have to be very focused, but overall it's a very fun sport to play.
Like Soph said, it's the ultimate team sport. You can't have one person carry a team. It takes a good pass, good stop, good attack, and good communication. And I just think like it really brings out a good, like the team becomes a family, and I can't imagine spending my afternoons any other way.
Yeah, like when all the pieces come together, there isn't a better feeling than like seeing the ball hit the ground after a big kill. It's just exhilarating.
And now it's time for our community calendar with Jane Peters. If you're looking for something interesting to do this week, Jane tells us all about what's happening in Belmont and what you can look forward to.
Hi, I'm Jane, and this is your community calendar for next week. The Belmont Public Library introduces an interesting new program for tarot card lovers. Tarot Tuesdays will be held on Tuesday at 7 p.m. This monthly meetup will be a fun place to practice tarot readings with other enthusiasts. Decks will be made available, as well as simple meetings and interpretations. The BHS Orchestra presents music from the African diaspora on Thursday at 7 in the BHS Auditorium. This concert celebrates the work of previously undiscovered and underrepresented composers. The concert is presented free thanks to POMS, Parents of Music Students. Are you over 60 or have a friend or loved one who wants to meet new people and join an organization that addresses changing needs? Cambridge Neighbors, a nonprofit membership-based organization that supports your choice to age in place, serves 5 resident towns, including Belmont. Adults interested in the organization are invited to an info session on Friday from 1 to 2:30. Learn more about Cambridge Neighbors on their website, cambridgeneighbors.org. Community Media Day is October 20th, and BMC is celebrating with an open mic night on Friday from 7 to 10. You're invited to enjoy live music and entertainment along with games, food, and fun. Come for a set or stay for the evening to celebrate community media and local talent. If you're a performer, you can register for time on the BMC stage at bit.ly/openmicbelmont. The town of Belmont hosts a recycling event on Saturday from 9 to 1 at Town Yard. The town will be accepting metal, textiles, building materials, books, DVDs, and more. There will be no paper shredding at the event. Learn more on the Town of Belmont website. The Belmont Piano Academy will have a mask decorating contest, candy, and the chance to learn a Halloween song at their Tune or Treat party on Saturday from 11 to 3. This free event will be at the Academy at 241 Belmont Street. Celebrate Oktoberfest at the Spirited Gourmet on Saturday from noon to 7. Try local food, beer, and wine, including grilled bratwurst. This free and fun community event is not to be missed. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the Beech Street Center is bringing Dana-Farber's mammography van to Belmont on October 28th to give out digital screenings and results via mail. The American College of Radiology recommends that women start getting annual mammograms at age 40. You can schedule your screening by calling 617-632-1974. And that's all for next week. If you'd like your event featured in Belmont Journal's community calendar, you can send your event info to Jane at belmontmedia.org.
We end our show with a programming update for your Belmont Media Center channels. Be sure to watch. And if you'd like to help with the show, something that we always encourage, or share news, please contact our producer, Frederic Rigoleau, at fred@belmontmedia.org. Well, that's all for this week. I'm Mike Crowley, your host. This is the Belmont Journal. We'll see you next time.